What is up, weirdos? You're listening to the Manic Pixie Weirdo. I'm Abigail, your host, and this is the podcast where we talk about all the different kinds of relationships that we have in our lives. And this week we're talking about my relationship with fear as it relates to romantic relationships. Not like we're going to specifically focus on romantic relationships. Friendships and stuff like that that'll be a different kind of relationship. But with romantic relationships, lots of fear. Lots and lots of fear. I've said this before, and I will probably say it many more times after this, but I am one of the most terrified people you'll probably ever have the displeasure of meeting or getting to know. I'm just a very afraid person in general. I have a lot of fear, just in general, and that can carry into my romantic relationships. I've only ever really had 4 like long-term romantic relationships. So we'll just, I guess, start from the beginning with the romantic relationships. So the first long-term romantic relationship that I mean, now, okay, obviously I had like other like little blips, like flashes in the pan of what would probably be considered a romantic relationship. I never really considered them romantic. Like I never really considered them like full-fledged relationships. It was really more just, I don't really know. That's something we'll have to explore on another episode. But for the purposes of this episode, I've really only ever had 4 long-term romantic relationships. The first one was when I was 19. Complete catastrophic failure. Like, they were all pretty catastrophic failures, except for the one that I'm in now with my husband. But we'll get to that later. The first one, I was about 19, just got out of rehab, was in a sober living facility, and that's where we met. So giant red flags right off the bat, but I was 18. I was 18 years old, 19, thought I knew everything. Was pretty much just like, nah, I'm good. Like, I kind of know everything. It's fine, whatever. Like, I know what I'm doing. Yeah. Not that feeling's ever gone away. I've just become more like aware of the fact that I don't know everything, and there's a lot of fear around that too, because it's like, shit. I feel like, as side note, as you get older, the more you learn, the more you realize like just how stupid you are. So that's fun. Just fun fact about getting older, guys. Like, as you progress down this, timeline, and hopefully as you learn, you figure out that, in fact, not only are you a complete idiot, but there's so much you don't know that you're just like, holy shit. Like, it will hit you at some point. And that's not a fun feeling. That's a pretty scary feeling. But yeah, so I was 19. We met in a sober living facility. Again, giant red flag, like huge. He was older than me. And I've always kind of been drawn to people who are either older or younger than I am. I don't really know what that's about. I've never really gotten along very well with people like my own age. Not that. Like, it's not that like I haven't been able to get along with people my own age. It's more that like especially when I was in school, it was very much like I was always friends with like the kids in the classes above me. And sometimes a couple of people in the class below me, but never like really in my own grade kind of thing. Uh, but so he was older than I was, and I, I, I don't remember going into the relationship and feeling like I was afraid. I don't remember that feeling. That wasn't the dominant feeling. I think the dominant feeling in that relationship was like a need for connection. Sorry, guys, there's some construction going on. I'll try to fix that in post. But so if you hear that in the background, just try to ignore it. I'm really sorry about that. But I don't remember going into, like, I don't think, first of all, I don't think anybody goes into a relationship, in any kind of relationship, and is like, I'm afraid. Like, I mean, we probably should. Like, like, that should probably be a thing. Later down the line, I learned to do that. But, when I was 18, 19, that wasn't what I was feeling. I wasn't feeling fear. I was feeling connection. And it was like a longing for a connection with another human being, mostly physical, mostly that sexual connection. We were able to talk, and like we did talk about things, but it was a pretty surface level relationship as far as like emotions were concerned. I was very young. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't really have an understanding about where I was and what was happening. I was still trying to process a lot of things, because my life up to that point had been just very rapid succession of things. Like, it never stopped moving. It was like boom, 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 boom. Like, there was never any time to like breathe. There was never like a moment where I really felt like I could pull my head up and just kind of like wade in the water and just kind of like breathe and just like try and relax. It for a very long time, it was just, boom, 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 boom. All this stuff was going on. And so when I went into this relationship, it was very like, I just knew that I wanted to feel like I had somebody who could kind of just be like a lifeboat for me. And not in the sense of like, oh my God, I feel so safe. I feel very like calm and peaceful. It was like, I just need to, because like I said, up until that point in my life, it was just very like boom, boom. And like, that was all I'd ever known, was like, this is just how it was, like, this is just how it goes. Like, it doesn't stop. This is just called life, and it doesn't stop. And, the world just keeps spinning, whether you're okay or you're not okay. It doesn't really matter. And that wasn't like, that was for whatever reason what I had got into my own head. And so when I was in this relationship, it was very, like, I just wanted to feel like I could breathe for a second. Like, okay, like, like, let's like, take some inventory. Let's see where we're at. Let's see what's going on. That's not what happened. That's not what happened. It became only about like the sexual pleasure and not really about like connection or anything like that anymore. All the because it was a very surface relationship. We didn't really know each other. We thought we did. We thought we knew each other. We thought that like because we had, been through this like shared life experience, that like that was kind of what we were gonna be together. Like that was gonna bring us closer together. And it did for a time, for a period of time it did. But for me, looking back, it's very much like a Band-Aid over a bullet hole wound. Very much, like I'm going to do this because it feels good. And I was still at that place where I just wanted to feel good. I couldn't use anymore, because I knew where that road was going to go. And I was never really into alcohol. That was never really my thing. Yeah, that was just so that wasn't really appealing at that time. I was really just looking to, I think, be given permission to fall apart, and for that to be okay. And that's really unfair. That's really, really unfair. Especially to the other person. And I mean, obviously it didn't. It didn't work out. It was fine. We were young. We were both looking for that, I think, in each other. And that's not a good, healthy relationship. And I want to say it was like 6 months, but it was probably closer to like 7 or 8, maybe, like at most. But that was like the first like serious long-term relationship that I had. And because it was my first, like, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how this worked. I didn't know like what to do. And so I was kind of like picking pieces of things that like I had seen like in television or in a movie or that I had like read in books of like things that I was supposed to do. There was a point though where like I just couldn't anymore. Like the depression and the anxiety just like overwhelmed me and I like couldn't do it anymore. I mean, there were times when I like couldn't get off the couch. I was just so like just done. Like I just couldn't do, I had no energy to do anything. And it wasn't a good relationship because I didn't help the situation. Like I didn't know how. I didn't know, I knew intellectually what I was doing wrong. I couldn't but I couldn't like make it stop. It was like I'd got on a train and I couldn't make the train stop and I didn't know how to get off. And so like intellectually, like I knew what I was doing, like wasn't okay. Like laying on the couch all day and not doing anything, like that wasn't helpful. That wasn't contributing anything positive to the relationship. And I knew that and I'd beat myself up about that a lot. I just couldn't like get the physical action to like follow through and like actually do anything. And so we eventually, it didn't work out. We eventually broke up. And it was fine. That was probably for the best. Because I don't think either one of us were in a place where, that was good. They say don't especially if you are in a relationship with somebody who is an addict or of any kind. You know, they say don't get in a relationship for like the first year, and I completely disregarded that rule, threw that shit just right out the window, and was like, what do you people know? And so I didn't do that, obviously, and it failed miserably. Like miserably. Like I look back on it and I'm like, oh my God, what was happening? What was like Jesus, Abigail, what are you doing? Um so it was probably for the best, to be perfectly honest with you. Like it was just not, lots of red flags. Probably for him too. I mean, like I was a complete and utter just like mental basket case. And didn't have any idea how to like control it, and figure it out. Um and I wasn't teachable. That was the other thing. I mean, I've never been like a teachable person. My dad used to say that to me, or he used to. He still sometimes has to tell me, Abigail, be teachable. And I'm not, like, I just don't. I've never been good at that. I've never been good at like just being teachable because I get so overwhelmed, and I get very like down on myself, and I get very, and it's hard for me. It's not because I don't want to be teachable. It's not because I don't want to learn. It's because I feel really stupid. And I feel really inadequate, and I feel like, I like, why don't I know this already? Like, this is so obvious. I should know this. Like, I obviously, this is, like, duh. And then I beat myself down, and uh, and then I get really discouraged, and that was a cycle that I think I really, 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 really fell into with that first romantic relationship specifically, because it was hard. And I thought I was doing like what I was supposed to be doing, and but I knew that like I wasn't, and then I'd get, then I'd beat myself, down about that. But no, not but. That's just what happened, Uh, lots of red flags for him. I was in, complete and utter basket case. Not great. And then, my second relationship, there was a pretty big gap between that relationship and my second like longest long-term romantic relationship. Actually, yeah, it's the second longest, but at the time it was the longest relationship that I had ever been in. And that didn't come quite as quickly, like right off the heels of that other relationship that I had gotten into. It took a little bit of time. I want to say there might have been about 6 months or so, 8 months, something like that, in between those two relationships. Still not a super long amount of time. And I fell into this, like, I don't know. So basically, like, what I'm trying to say is that, like, this would happen a lot. Like, I would get to a place where I was like, okay, like, I'm doing it. Like, I'm okay right now. Like, everything feels, not good, but stable. Like, everything feels like it's stable. I feel relatively in control of what's happening. And I feel like, and from that, I like give myself a false sense of like security, where I began, where I get into this thinking of like, okay, like I've been able to keep all of the plates spinning so far. What's one more plate? Like, what is it? What's one more plate? Like, it'll be fine. Like, I have like a rhythm down for all these other plates that are spinning. And so like, it'll be, and they haven't fallen yet in 6 months, some stupidly small amount of time. And so, what's one more? Again, red flag. But, you know, and so I got into this other relationship, and it was with a woman. It was the first relationship I'd ever been in with a woman. And I didn't really know, like, it was new. It was fun. It was exciting. I liked it. It was something that was, to a certain extent, it was like a new shiny toy, but it never really lost that, like, that feel. It never really lost that, like, appeal for me. It was very, it was like, oh, like, I'd kissed women, I'd held their hands, like, up to that point, but I'd never, like, been in a relationship with another woman where, I felt like I could talk to them. I've never been good at relationships with women. People in general scare me a lot. And I'm very skittish. I have to take it very, very slowly. And I don't think I did with her. Because it was new, because it was something I'd never done before, and it was really exciting, and I was really into it, and I was like, oh, this will be like, maybe this is, and that's the other thing, is I think that I went into it and I was like, maybe this is the thing. Like, maybe this is why I have been so unhappy, why nothing has really ever really made any sense to me. Like, maybe it's because I'm gay and I'm like finding this out about myself. Nope, that's not it. That was not it at all. That was not the thing. It had nothing to do with the fact that, like, I I almost feel like I like faked an epiphany. Because although, is it faking it if you really think that that's what it is? Like, is it faking it if you actually think like, oh, this is the thing? I don't know if faking it's the right word. I think it was much more like, I thought that maybe this was the answer. That maybe this was why I was so, like, afraid, or why I didn't really get along with women, because I was like repressing all these feelings, and it wasn't like okay, and blah, like all this stuff, and it was like no. If anything, I discovered that I really enjoy being with women, and that I can have, like, if there's anything good that came out of the second relationship, it was that it was a couple of things. It was that I found out that I do really like being with women. And I can be friends with women, because during this relationship, not only was it sort of took the blinders off, I guess, of, like, up to that point, I didn't really have a lot of female friends, and I didn't really get along with women very well, because I was afraid of them. I'm afraid of women. I don't, it's not exclusive to women. It is exclusive to people. I'm just afraid of people. I don't like to get close to people too often. But for the first time, when I got into this relationship with this woman, I also began to have female friends, or people that I would consider to be like close female friends. And like we had a good time together. I had a really good time with them. It seemed like they had a good time with me. It was like for the first time I was able to like discover that like, you know, humans don't have to be scary. That like you could actually like have fun, and it was like okay. Uh you know, and I think that's good. I think that's good because it helped sort of alleviate that fear. I also learned that I'm just afraid of people. Like that's it. I'm just afraid of people. And like it's not gender specific or sex specific. It is just human beings in general. I'm just terrified of human beings. And I think that's good. I think that it sort of opened that part of me. It allowed me to open that part of myself into sort of like receiving other people and other women, and sort of like giving that, you know, giving it a go, like a good test run. And I enjoyed it. I had a good time. There were a lot of problems with that relationship. Some of them were ideology based, like religious based. She's gay. She is very like she's openly gay at that point to a lot of people, but not a lot with her family. And there was a lot of fear there for me too, because I was very afraid of letting anyone know that she was a woman. That there was a lot of fear there for me, that if anybody found out, like from, you know, the place that I grew up, that I was with a woman, that there would be severe consequences, kind of a thing, which looking back, makes no sense because I cut all ties with anybody from that like portion of my life. Up to that point, I'd pretty much severed all ties and like started over. I remember being very, very specifically afraid of like my parents too. And then I remember feeling really stupid because she had like, in an effort to sort of like put me at ease with the fact that like we were together, she like changed her name like on social media to a more masculine name. And I remember my parents called me, and I was like in the bathroom, and my parents were like, "We know you're dating a girl. Like, it's fine. We know it's fine. Like, you don't have to hide this from us. It's okay. We don't care. We just want you to be happy." And then I felt even more stupid, because it was like, well, all of this stuff that I was afraid of, like, turns out it's not even that big of a deal for the people that like love and care about me. And so then I felt really stupid because of that. And after that, it kind of just, you know, like continued on. And it was never like a thing after that. You know, it was never like, you're dating a woman, like, blah, blah, blah. It was never, it was like, we don't care. We just don't care. It doesn't matter to us. I don't remember feeling relief. I remember feeling like a complete idiot. I remember feeling like a complete moron and feeling very like, what am I doing? Like, what's happening? What am I doing? So probably a red flag, you know. That also happened to be, and I'll go into this a little bit more in a different episode that's coming up, but that also happened to be a relationship that I was in where I was pregnant, and I miscarried. That was very scary. I'll go into that in a different episode, but that's it'll come up. Just hang tight, guys. But yeah, so that and it was very scary, and it was very again, there was a lot of like religious pressure happening and all this stuff and like all that kind of stuff, and very stressful, especially that was a really rough relationship for a lot of reasons. And the thing was that people told me, like, it ended up being a highly abusive relationship, very, very abusive. And we were together for like a year and a half or some insane amount of time like that. Highly abusive. It was never physically abusive in the sense that like there was no hitting or like that kind of a thing. It was very emotionally, spiritually, and mentally abusive. That was a relationship that I learned a lot about myself, and what I was willing to do, what I was willing to like put up with and tolerate. Turns out I'm able to tolerate a lot. And people are like, well, you're really resilient. And, okay. Controversial statement coming up here, guys. I don't want to have to be. I don't want to have to be very resilient. I apparently can tolerate a lot. We were very young. I found out it was like on my 20th birthday that I found out I was pregnant. We were living in a hotel. And we had like no money, like none, like no money. Little bits of money from doing various and sundry things, selling stuff, that kind of thing. And there was an incident before my birthday that year, that we needed money. And basically what ended up happening was she pimped her girlfriend out. She pimped me out. And I kind of, okay, that sounds really terrible. Because it's not like I didn't agree. Okay? It's not like I wasn't, it's not like I said no. It's also not like I didn't know the guy that I was going to go have sex with for money. Or like, that kind of a thing. Like it was my connection. Like he was my guy. We needed money. So I guess if anything, she just agreed. So the fault can't really be completely put on her. I think there's plenty of blame to go around for everybody. So let's just, make that pretty clear. It's not like this was completely her fault, guys. Okay. So like I definitely had a part in this, a pretty big slice. But that was not fun. that was bad. That was a bad go of it. And it took me a while. What basically the thing that ended up, kind of the straw on the camel's back for that relationship was I ended up having, a full-blown panic attack. We ended up moving in with her mother. Whole bunch of, again, very, very abusive, very not okay. And I ended up having a really bad panic attack, like to the point where like I couldn't move or like couldn't talk. Um, eventually I was able to get in the back of an ambulance, and go to the hospital. That was not fun. But it did get me out. That's sort of what did get me out. And then I was homeless for a while. And I ended up making it back to like where I was able to like be with some friends. Specifically, there was one girl who I will never forget her ever in my life. She was such a good friend to me. And I really wasn't that great of a friend in return. And it hurts me a lot that that was a realization that I had to come to. Was that she helped me a lot, and she was a really good friend to me in return. And I was suffering a lot, and I didn't know. Again, I got like she helped me. She and her mom helped me so much. Oh my gosh, they helped me so much. After all that, they helped me like get a job and like have a place to stay and like all this stuff. And and again, I got to a place for like 3 or 4 months, maybe like 6 months. See, that always seems to be like the magical amount of time for me where I think that like, I'm okay again for 6 months. And then I'm an idiot. I was an idiot. I'm a complete moron. And then so they did all this stuff for me, and I was a pretty terrible person in return. Very shitty friend, just a bad friend. And then I left, and I got into another relationship with another woman, that was sort of mutually abusive. Probably more me than her, because I was still trying to deal with, like everything that had happened up until that point. I was still trying to process a lot of stuff. And I didn't know what I was doing. I was right back at that square one where I was like, I don't really know what's happening anymore, but this feels stable, this feels secure, and this feels good. Very surface level, again, very surface level, very, not good, because I slipped back into using, because it was the only thing that I felt like I ever had real control over, was my addiction. And I like that feeling of control. I really do. But when you're active in your addiction, when all of us are active in our addiction, it's not great for the people around us. And what ended up happening with this girl was that we were, not only were we both mentally unstable, we were using, and we weren't really medicated. So imagine that mind, that just disaster, catastrophic failure, if you will. It was not good. Very, lots of anger, lots of fear, lots of not knowing. Again, lots of like trying to do the right thing, but never quite managing that. Always falling short. And no therapy either. Was not in therapy. So, complete catastrophic failure. Yeah, that wasn't nearly as long. It was probably the shortest of the long-term romantic relationships that I had been, maybe like 6 months. maybe. But, you know, it, again, very much for the best, because we were pretty abusive to each other. And, you know, active in our addiction, not good. No therapy, no medication. Just, yeah. Don't do that. That's bad. Don't do that. And I remember, I mean, obviously the fourth long-term relationship that I've been in is, you know, with my husband, and it's been a ride, you guys. Ups and downs and all arounds. Probably a catastrophic disaster in the beginning. Probably a giant catastrophic failure in the beginning. Really probably not until maybe the last 2 years. Maybe the last 2 years. Maybe. Take that with a grain of salt. Where it hasn't been a complete catastrophic failure. And a lot of that's on me, because a lot of it is fear. Like I said, I never really felt like I had a place to breathe. And it was just like one thing right after the other. One thing, boom, boom, boom. It was like this happened, then this happened, then this happened, and then this happened, and then I went to bed. And then Tuesday, this happened, and that was how, you know, it was for a long time. And to be perfectly honest with you, that's kind of just how life is, or at least my life has been. Never really getting a chance to breathe, except maybe within the last 2 years. Really just getting a chance to you know, chill out. And I've discovered that it has a lot to do with the fact that I'm terrified. I'm terrified of people, just in general. And okay, so for me, sex was never sex is a big thing for me in relationships, because it, if I'm not sexually compatible with you, then there's kind of no point in continuing the relationship, because that is a pretty big thing for me. That is a pretty big, straw that broke the camel's back kind of a thing. It really is an important thing for me. That being said, oddly enough, it is usually something that I want to get out of the way very quickly. I don't really dick around very much when it comes to that. You know, it's one of those things where I'd need to know now, because if there's no sexual compatibility there, then there's really no reason to continue down this road. So it is one of the things that I try to get out of the way pretty quickly, because it is important for me. It's not important for everybody. It is important to me, though. It is something that I need to be able to be sexually compatible with the person. I don't really know why that is. I think it has a lot to do with a lot of the trauma sexually that I have had in my life. So maybe it is. I think that has a lot to do with it. And I want to know. I do need to know if we're sexually compatible, because out of that trauma, a lot of that trauma comes fear. And a lot of it, you know, and when I'm afraid, I need to feel like I'm in control of something. I need to feel like I have control over something, and
especially when it comes to sex, I like to be the one in control, because a lot of the sexual trauma that I've had, I haven't felt like that. I haven't been in control, or I haven't felt like I've been in control. And that's pretty surface level, I would say. The deeper thing there is not necessarily control. I think it is a lot more to do with power and a need to feel like I hold the power. I've never really felt like I've ever held the power. Not really. I've always, I guess, felt like I've had the illusion of holding the power, but I've never felt like I've ever really like been the person that has held the power in that. And so I think that that's a little bit more of a deeper understanding that I have of it's not necessarily completely all about control. It's more about that power and the having that, I'm just going to say it, over another person, which terrifies me. That is a very scary thing for me, because I'm scared of everything. And I think that I have this like weird notion in my head that if I'm the one with the power, then that means that the other person has no power. And so I have all of it. Which, first of all, not good. Not good. That's not, no. No. That's not good. Not good at all. And that's something that I've had to learn, that it's not all or nothing. It's not, well, if he has, like in the relationship that I have with my husband, it's not that like, well, if he has power, that means you have none. It just means that you share it, sharing is caring, that kind of a thing. That's something that I've really had to figure out how to navigate, because I don't trust easily, at all. I have a fear of trusting people. I have a big fear of trusting people. I generally try to keep people at arm's length. Yeah, I do. The vast majority of people in my life, I keep at arm's length. There are a few exceptions to that rule. Not many, though. Like, you can count them on one hand, the number of people that I actually let go come any closer than an arm's length. And actually, if we're being honest, it's probably like a social distancing length, like 6 feet. Like, that's as close as I want anybody to get. Because I have a huge fear of trusting people. I have a big fear of getting hurt again, and letting people too close. I don't think that's unique for me. I think that that's something that a lot of people struggle with, is the fear of letting people get too close, because we don't want to get hurt. Nobody wants to get hurt. That's not something, nobody signs up for something and is like, I hope that this completely destroys me, shatters my soul, and then puts it through the shredder. Like, it'll be fantastic. Like, that's exactly what I want. This relationship is going the exact way that I need it to go. Like, no, like, I don't think anybody, has those thoughts. Well, maybe not. I mean, it's possible. I'm not going to rule that out. I just don't think that is as common as the fear of not getting hurt. And so in an effort to not get hurt, I tend to keep people, at a 6 foot minimum distance from me. Because I'm afraid of everything. I'm afraid of not just getting hurt, but like having to do it again. 'cause like I've said this a lot too in my life. You know, I've been through a lot, and I can do it again. I have the ability to do it again, to live through it again. I just don't want to. I know I can do it because I survived before. And I'll live, and I lived through it. I lived through it. And by living through it, that means that, like, I'm still breathing. You know, I'm not bleeding, I'm not barfing, I'm not dead. I lived through it. But that does not mean that I want to do it again. I don't want to do it again. I can. I have the ability to do it again. I don't want to, though. And so I'm very skittish. I'm very, very skittish. I'm very, shy, almost. I don't, you know, it's not just about being hurt. It's not just the fear of being hurt. It's the fear of having to do it again. And I think that there is a part of me that is just tired. You know, of like, not necessarily of, it's just tired of life. That's just what it is it's just being tired of like life, and just being tired of feeling like for, you know, whatever reason, whether it was a situation that I put myself in, whether intentionally or not, or getting put into a situation where I don't really know how I got here, like just anything, like I just tired of it, just tired of life, just tired of the of being so afraid all the time. And when I found my husband, that's not true at all. That's not how that happened. When I got the chance to be with my husband, I feel like the reason why those first several years were just a complete catastrophic failure was because I was so tired. I was so tired. I felt like I had nothing left. Like, there's literally nothing left that I can give. I don't have anything to give you. There's nothing for me to give you. And I think that when he realized that I was being serious, because that's a big thing for me, and I think it has a lot to do with my sense of humor. I'm very sarcastic. I'm very pessimistic. I'm very cynical. I have a very dark sense of humor, and so a lot of people, I don't think, know the difference when I'm kidding and when I'm not. Like when it's just a joke or when it's not. And so people don't know when I'm being serious, or people don't know when I'm like trying to be funny or whatever. So I think that when he realized that I was being serious, it scared him. Because I don't think he'd ever been in a situation where somebody had told him that before. I don't think so. I don't think he'd ever been in a situation where that was being told to him in a serious manner. And so I think that when, you know, when he realized I was being serious, it scared him too, and rightfully so. That's a very scary thing for someone to say to you, especially if you're in a romantic relationship. Very scary thing to say to somebody. It's not, if anything, it's a giant red flag, like run away. He didn't though, for whatever reason. I guess some would call that love. Some would call it stupidity. Take your pick. Doesn't really matter. I'm fine with either. But when he realized I was being serious, and it scared him, he didn't run. He stayed. And he was just there. Which was new. That was very new for me. That had never really happened before because he wasn't there sexually. We had already gotten that out of the way. That was like known. That was something that, we knew we were pretty sexually compatible on that end. We knew we liked to talk to each other. We knew that like that was something that we enjoyed doing. We enjoyed doing stuff together. So those were never things that like were issues, I guess. But I was terrified of the fact that he didn't like run as fast as he could in the opposite direction. Terrified the shit out of me. Because that was new. That hadn't really ever happened before. In that way. People will stick around for sexual pleasures and stuff like that. Fine, whatever. Those kinds of things. But nobody had ever really up to that point had ever really like stuck around to just be there for me. Like that. And that scary for a number of reasons. One, it was new. New things, very scary. Don't like new. Don't like change. Something that we all have in common. Not a fan. Got to do it though. Everybody has to do things they don't want to do. That's something that I didn't want to have to do. I think up until that point, I was very just like, and he's off. And he didn't run. He stayed. And I was like, this is weird. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what to do with this. Because everybody else ran as fast as they could in the opposite direction. Which, to their credit, probably a good call. But, he turned it on his head and he was like, no, I'm going to stay. And I was like, this is weird. Why aren't you running? And he was like, because, I love you. And I was like, this is great. Now I have to deal with this. And, so we did it. We did the thing and he stayed. And he ran later. But then he came back. Again, very new. Lots of fear. So much fear in that. Anytime, like I said, I'm scared of everything. I'm scared of absolutely everything. And when he and I got to a place in our relationship where I was able to sort of voice that, a lot of things changed. And that was scary again because it was new. And I wasn't sure what to do with that, or how to feel about it. Now, obviously, I'm incredibly grateful that has happened. it's still a giant work in progress because we're still, like in a place where it's still pretty new. And that's really scary because I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. It's just very. Romantic relationships are hard for a lot of reasons. And it doesn't help when you're in a relationship with someone who's afraid all the time. Therapy, back in therapy, that helps a lot. That helps a whole bunch. Because it helps me like talk it out. And then there's somebody there to talk through it with me so that I kind of have like an idea. And we can really like go through it and kind of step by step, emotion by emotion, figure out what to do. But, I don't think you're ever going to get into a relationship, especially not a romantic one, without being afraid. I don't know if that's possible. I believe that it's possible. I believe that can happen for people. I've just never experienced that. I've never experienced any kind of relationship without a certain level of fear. And, fear is good to a certain extent because it keeps you alive. It keeps you alive. Fear can be good. It can be good for that, to keep you alive. It can also destroy a lot. So you really have to learn how to navigate that. And it's a very fine line. Believe me, it's a very fine line. And I trip a lot over that line. A lot. I just face plant, just smack right on my face, trip over that line. Or I've definitely, jumped rope with that line. I've also definitely just been like, oh, we're just going to jump right over this. That's fine. No worries. It'll be fine. And I think that has a lot to do with fear is comfortable for me. I'm used to being afraid. I'm very used to being afraid. Fear is it's a very comfortable thing for me. I've lived most of my life in fear. And it's kept me alive. Done lots of damage though too. Lots of things I'm not proud of that I've done out of fear. And anxiety and, but all that comes from fear. And I'm very, very comfortable in fear. Fear is like, I understand fear. I understand what that is. I understand what it looks like. I know what it feels like. I can touch it. I can taste it. I know what fear is. Fear makes sense to me. I get it. It just is. I'm comfortable in fear. And because I've gotten so comfortable in fear, anything that isn't fear based scares me. Which, ironically, the paradox of that is, well, then isn't that fear? And aren't you more comfortable with that? To a certain extent, yes. To a certain extent, yes. Because if it's new and I don't know what to do, then I start to get afraid. And I know fear. I like fear. Fear is my comfort zone. And so that sort of in turn turns this new thing into, it's not necessarily good. Okay. It's not necessarily a good thing, but it becomes more interesting for me. It becomes more interesting for me. And then I like want to play with it, and I want to like touch it, and I want to like, understand it. I want to know what it is. What does this look like? I want to understand all facets of it. And so that can be good. That can be bad. It can be good. It just sort of depends on what it is. The trick is determining, is this healthy or positive, or is this negative and harmful? That's really, the big question that has to be asked in those situations for me. It's also, though, why I say life is an adventure, because it makes life fun for me. I get to meet all these different kinds of people and experience all these different kinds of things. And, all those, it's just an adventure. It just becomes an adventure. And it's scary, and it's fun, and it sucks, and it hurts, and it's painful, and it's loose and free and delicate and comforting, and exciting, and terrifying. It's all of those things all in one. So that's all I kind of have for fear in my romantic relationships. I'll probably elaborate at some point. We might do like more of these kinds of episodes in the future. But that's kind of all I have for this general topic. Next week we have Leslyn Kantner on to talk about her fear in relationship and like how it relates to romantic relationships. And that was a really fun conversation. I really enjoyed talking to her, learned a lot. I hope you guys like it. I hope you guys enjoy. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'm sorry, it's kind of a downer and kind of like, it's not, I don't know, it wasn't like as happy and like upbeat as I thought it was going to be, but it's fine. Whatever. Not everything can be happy and rainbows all the time. But yeah. So, if you like what you hear, or you have a topic that you want to cover, or, you want a shout out or anything like that, email me at ManicPixieWeirdo@protonmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter at MPWeirdo Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram, _main_weirdo1. The Pinterest is _main_weirdo21. We have a Cash App, which is the Main Weirdo. So if you want to support us, you can do it that way. Or actually, I mean, like you can support us that way. If you want to, if you feel like it. If not, you can just, like and subscribe on YouTube, or like and subscribe and leave us a review and a rating on, like iTunes or, Podchaser. Those are all great things that really help the podcast that you can do. So I hope you guys liked it. Sorry it wasn't the most upbeat, but they can't all be. As always, be kind and stay weird, guys. Love y'all. Bye.